Well, I'd like to start off by saying welcome to season 3 of Questions. I'm Chris Thompson. I'm the producer and I guess slash host now for a bit, as Mike will be joining us later in this season. And as usual, we're here with Duff Krehar. I was going to let him say it, but then I took his glory.
Dr. Duff. Yeah, right.
This episode is going to really focus on what Questions is. So if you haven't checked this out before, and even if you have, this season's going to feel different. There's going to be a lot more bite-sized pieces. The longer portion of our discussion is going to be mostly a podcast, so we're not going to really worry about doing long live video. We are still going to incorporate some live elements down the road. We're planning on doing hopefully some live with some in person even. But there's a lot of things we're going to try and change up this year. But we really want to introduce why we do this. And the big thing is what is a thought life? What is how you think and process your world? How does that incorporate and integrate with your faith?
Yeah, I mean, we have done in the first year, we did a lot of technical information. We talked a lot about details of how the Bible was developed, how accurate it is, how it can be affected by history, by politics. And then in the second year, we went a little deeper into the experiences of Christians to see, what does it mean when you're wrestling with an addiction, when you're wrestling with homelessness, when you're dealing with Christians that don't even appear to be Christian in the way they behave. And so now we're moving into another level of the experience, but at the same time asking the question, why do you believe? And we can say, well, I have this deep conviction. But convictions can depend on things like depression, which is sometimes a medical condition, or, in my case, the result of overwork and exhaustion and frustration, the psychological states that come from being a perfectionist, a disappointed perfectionist, or whatever. And often what is our anchor tends to be what we can look at and say, this is a reason enough to believe. And it's probably important to say right at the beginning, some of the great writers have always said, you can have all the information, you can have all the historical proof, scientific proof, or facts in the world, but essentially they're not going to help you in your spiritual quest unless you're prepared to open your heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's the scary part. A lot of what we run into in life these days is things that make us stop and say, oh, if God said that, I'm not sure I'm comfortable. Or we have the great question that was asked in the Garden of Eden where the serpent says, oh, did God say that? And we run into that all the time now where people say, well, if God said that, then I'm not interested.